Okay, it looks like it's about that time. I would like to call this meeting to order. So Julie is not here, but all the rest of us are here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from?
Second.
Is there a discussion? Anybody have any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Parks usage requests. We have a request from the Southern Berkshire Chamber of Commerce to use Memorial Field for the holiday stroll. Thank you. Actually, I think if you don't mind coming up to the owl, that would be great. Thank you so much.
I got enough. I have another thought.
Oh, even better. Please tell us about this parks request.
Okay, so obviously, if we, no brainer, if we do not get ample rain / snow since it's, and from now until the time of the stroll, this request would be null and void.
Would you do everything else other than the fireworks?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so just, that's the only part that'll be dependent on rain or not.
Correct, because we don't, obviously, we don't want to have any.
No,
Well,
we got enough trouble.
We got enough trouble. But, so we're here just as a preliminary thing to, ask requests to use Memorial Park as we have for 14 years now. For the holiday stroll fireworks, which last approximately 10 to 15 minutes. They're done by a Suntory world famous fireworks. They're set up in the corral so they don't impact the ground. We're happy to go, if you have a specific spot you want us to be, we're happy to do that. As in the past, we make sure everything's cleaned up afterwards. And we request the fire department to be kind of in front of Railroad Street Youth to make sure that people aren't going in that direction while the fireworks are getting shot.
Great, thank you. So help me with procedurally, a motion to approve this before we discuss?
Right,
Yep.
get a motion to approve in a second, and then it's discussed.
Thank you.
There you go.
So motion to approve,
So moved.
second.
Second, whatever.
Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Paul?
Where do you intend to have the fireworks set off?
Well, you
Outfield.
tell us. where you-
Outfield, isn't it?
Right, it's in the, it's usually in the outfield to the left of the gate, but if you want it in a different location, just tell us.
So I do have some notes from Joe. And Joe says if this is for fireworks, I'm good with it being done as it was last year.
Okay,
Entered through the gate by Railroad Street Youth Project with keeping vehicles on the track. And also to clean up in the same way that you've done in the past. He said it was very good last year and he's good with it if we are.
I just didn't want it personally or for safety's sake. On our brand new infield,
right, no, I agree with you.
because
It's never
the
been-
residue from the fireworks is kind of toxic.
Right.
And I didn't want it mixed in with our brand new $500,000 infield.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Excellent. Any more discussion about this? I assume that you will be in touch with the fire department and everything.
Not today, though.
I think you're busy,
You're a little busy.
get busy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you so much for your time.
Excellent.
Have a great day.
Okay, you will notice that there is no parks usage request form in the packet from Kate regarding the use of the Houstonic Community Center on behalf of the Berkshire Hills Food Box Program. Because this is a preliminary conversation, will you come up?
Yeah.
And just tell us a little bit about what you're looking for. Joe has a question, I'm sure we will also.
Okay, great. So currently we run a food box program. It is a weekly food delivery program to Berkshire Hills families. Currently, we provide food for 75 families every week. And we've been packing on Tuesdays in the community room at Muddy Brook. We also provide food bags to Heaton Court residents. So there's about 20 additional food bags that are packed in that space. We are about to go to about 100 families and would like to see if we can reach more families. But we do not have the space at Muddy Brook to continue doing that. So we're looking for alternative spaces. We thought with Cousy Dome being in this kind of central area that we would be able to use that space. We are flexible about the day. We usually pack between 8:15. We start around 8:15, 8:30. We're done packing by 9:30. Everything is pretty much picked up for delivery by 10:30 and we're completely done. We would need a little bit of storage space and access to the building the day before delivery
Easy.
has to happen, so that
Easy.
we could bring some food there. Again, we're flexible on dates. This is why it's really preliminary. We just wanted to see if the Parks Department and the Hoosie Dome were receptive to this idea.
Joe asks if you have taken a look at the front room at the Hoosie Dome.
Well, that's what we were wondering about. It's been a while. I will definitely go to the farmer's market there this weekend, so I'll take a better look at it. I think it's probably similar to the size that we're using now, so I don't know if it would be enough space for us to pack. But we certainly could store some items there
In there.
if that's doable.
Number one, you don't have to do that. There's a whole room with built-in huge lockers. You could have a locker with a padlock and that's where your stuff can be. If you walk in the Hoosie Dome, it's in the back right.
Okay,
There's 5 huge locker spaces there, so that'd be a good thing. Number 2, I think if you pickable Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday, so probably a Thursday, then, because we stop anywhere between 11:30 and 12 normally. So you could have it all, and then afternoon program doesn't start till like 3, so, or Thursday morning would be perfect.
okay,
I did that because there's nothing else scheduled at that point.
okay.
So I
But you
think-
can't, the locker room, getting in.
Yeah.
There's a combination on the door. You get the combination on the door, you don't even need a key.
Okay,
So I think the short answer is, I'd love to hear from the rest of the board about whether or not this feels like something that we can, that we are receptive to. And then should we go forward, we would want the same parks usage request that we get for everything else. With timing that can go on the calendar so that it is noted that that is the use, that space is
Yeah.
being used during that time.
and I will, in the meantime, go check to make sure that, as far as like, we're flexible about what day we pack, but just to make sure that that works for food pantry, like food. Just we
Delivery, yeah.
get, we get stuff from the Western Mass Food Bank, we get stuff from Guido's trucks, bring it out, like just making sure that everybody is flexible or that there's storage elsewhere
Great.
in that flexibility for perishable items.
Why don't you and I go take a walk through and I can show you where it is. I'll
Great.
show you where the storage is, and all you need is a padlock. So, and it's big. I mean,
Okay,
you could, they put those practice in there, so there's enough for storage, and I think that. Monday or Thursdays would not jam, I mean, you could start anytime then,
okay,
and the
Great.
only other time is pickleball goes till noon on Tuesday, Wednesday and
so
Friday.
maybe even Tuesday afternoons could be
Yep.
possible.
Well, you don't wanna get too far into it, because there's stuff, the Railroad Street Youth Project, and mentoring, they show up at like 3:30.
So
Okay.
you should be able to look on the town
And I have
website.
seen, I did look at that, so of the current schedule.
Yes.
And so maybe I will make sure to share that with our current volunteer list and see what flexibility
There
we
you
have.
We,
Which, with enough time, we can be flexible.
we strive to have it up 3 months in advance. We're working on it. So if there are questions about it, ask us about it. Does anyone else on the board have any thoughts, questions, feelings? Yes, Judy.
So would you guys do packing in the gym area? I think we would need to. I will take a look at that front
The
room.
smaller room is just probably the size
It's
of
probably the same, the community room is the room that they do like
Right.
chess club in.
Yes.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I think the Hoosie Dome room.
I think so too. I think
Yeah,
they're actually
we-
smaller.
we Would love to be able, and we don't need to bring tables in.
Yeah, I was.
There would
gonna
be
ask.
people with their street shoes on,
They need to take them off.
take them off, so we can make sure to keep note of that. But like, the other great part of the Hoosie Dome is that, a lot of our volunteers are seniors, so being able to be on street level to get things in and out
Yep.
is huge.
We also have benches in front of the Hoosie Dome now.
Great.
So what kind of food is this? Is this like vegetables or is it packaged stuff? Like
It's a little bit of
hams?
everything, so, every week we get, it's a dozen eggs, it's a block of cheese. It's 3 or 4 vegetables, 2 fruits,
Good.
and then non-perishable items. This coming week's gonna be a full Thanksgiving meal, including meat.
Oh.
And it goes year round. We take a break during February break, during April break. We don't pack, but we pack double boxes, so people get extra the weeks before. The idea is really just to help supplement people for those periods of time. when their kids aren't in school, so
When they're not
dinners
getting free
and
lunch.
weekends, when they're not getting free lunch and free
Right.
breakfast.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, what a great thing to, great service
Yeah.
for our community.
And I would say it out loud in case people are, watching at some point, other school districts do this as well. So if you're, you're hearing this and thinking this is something your family could use, there are other school districts that also provide a similar service.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's-
what is it that you're gonna store, that you need to store?
It would be the non-perishable items, so it would be like cans of peas.
Yeah.
Or cans of tuna, bags of rice, and then also cardboard boxes, but
Oh.
usually those are, we can those usually. Come in and go out, I mean, we're, using 100 cardboard boxes a week to get food.
So, I mean, are you storing this over a period of time or just for that particular week?
Some of it is a period of time, most of it is that particular week,
Oh.
like we.
So usually you get it in like on Monday and it all goes
It's
on
gone.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
but occasionally we'll.
Occasionally you might have extra of a pair,
We have
not
extra
perishable.
Exactly, or we might order double peas from the food bank because they had a lot, but we're not gonna send every family home with 2 things of peas, so we'll have 100 cans
There you
of
go.
peas that need to sit somewhere for a week.
There's plenty of space there, you can.
We're not
do that.
storing eggs, we're not storing
Right.
fruits and vegetables, all the perishable items go out. And some families do pick their food up at the school, so we would then have a delivery person that brought the boxes from the Hoosie Dome to the school, so people would pick up at the
Great.
school, so food would not be left there other than non-perishable items.
Great.
So there are like Karen said, the storage units in that back corner
Okay.
room.
And only 1 or 2 of the 6 are being used, so you could easily have 2,
Yeah.
you know, your
And-
extra
And the
piece.
town provides the
Yeah.
padlock for it too.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Great. Anything else, guys? Because I think this is great to move forward.
Motion to approve it with all the paperwork that'll follow.
Cool, that sounds great. Anybody have any discussion more? We're not approving anything in particular, but we look forward to seeing more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Is anybody here from Berkshire Men's Basketball? Tom Jordan is here.
Perfect.
We send all of the stuff.
Hi, guys.
Hi, thanks for being here. Tell us more.
So we've been using the Housatonic Community Center for the last 3 years. So this is just a renewal of what we've been doing for the last 3 years. It's a group of individuals. We play basketball in the morning from 7 to about 8:30 in the morning, and I have submitted the certificate of insurance to the town and just wanted to get permission to move forward for another year.
I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion about this? Joe just said, Joe has no objections. So far, so good. Anybody else?
I mean, they're all the same times you've always had anyway, right?
Yeah,
Tom, is that right?
It's
These
all
are
rep-
always the same times you've always had?
Absolutely.
Great, excellent. Take a vote. To approve, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Thank you so much.
You guys make it too easy. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, next year we'll keep that in mind.
about time you recognize that, Tom.
And we're waiting.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right.
thanks,
Yeah.
great. Okay, old business, Olympian Meadows, so, Joe just notes that the vehicle access to Olympian Meadows has been restricted. So there is no longer a way of getting vehicles onto the field. That's really the only note I have about it, at this point. We are going to, talk about the CPA, applications in a little while. Anybody have anything else to say about that? We're gonna do like hands for anybody.
I
who have-
talked with,
this-
I talked with Chief Storty, he said they caught the perpetrators of.
Oh, good.
Of that,
Oh, they did.
yeah,
Yes, they did.
yeah, they caught him, and the way they caught him was. They put it on Facebook. Picture of his car, pardon,
Now,
When is
now.
the public hanging?
I don't know, all I know is
Not
that
cool.
they were able, whoever did it had his, you know, and they caught him.
They never did say. that-
Morons are never go too
Yeah,
far.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and keep it to the agenda. And I'm going to suggest that we table the discussion in too much detail. We get to the capital budget requests later on in the agenda. Proposal for the split rail fence for Stanley Park. Joe has a note from the family. They feel that the split rail fence would make the park less accessible and are not so much in favor, but they are interested in more benches and picnic tables. And maybe a couple facing the water. So that's mostly just an update on that. I think if it's something that we want to pursue, beyond some more benches and picnic tables, then we need to make the next proposal. Okay, anybody have anything they wanna add to that?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, about the split rail fence. It's such a small park that I think if we focus more park benches and stuff down below, it would bring people in there instead of just kind of highlighted up above. And Joe also did more work along the north side of that. And you can see the Housatonic River the whole way, which is like, it's beautiful. I mean, just clearing out that brush is great.
Even as low as it is, you can see it.
That's exactly right. There's water there.
Great. Okay, the next is a note about how to sign up for pickleball. You'll see it in our parks packet. Karen, do you want to say anything more about it?
No, it's just that we had it and it wasn't streamlined, so I re-edited it and gave it to Natalie, and she did a great launch on Facebook.
Great.
And it,
So there's nothing different. It's just cleaned
now
up.
it's.
It's
this
just
is,
cleaned up.
You know, idiot one page. That's all it is. If you'd like to play Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Sundays at 9 to 12, and Sundays we go to 11:15, so the boys basketball can get started on their Sunday program.
Great, thank you. Any comments about that? Anything to add to that? Okay, moving along, capital budget requests. Obviously, we are going to hear about this more in detail from Joe next month. But he did make a request to the CPC to go through step one to propose money to keep the parks equipment up to date. And then also one for the soccer field. And those grant applications were sent out to everyone. Joe is asking for letters of support from the commission to the DPW in favor of both of those applications, and also is asking that any independent parties, any individuals who want to send letters in support of those applications to please do
Point of
so.
information, it shouldn't go to Joe, it should go to CPC.
Directly to CPC. Yeah, great. Okay, and if anybody wants help getting it there, you can send it to me or directly to
Send it to
CPC.
Karen.
Yeah. Questions about that?
Do we have any say in like the prioritization of these? Like, or is it gonna be a scatter shot?
So it's a little odd the way we do things, and the select board is the same problem. I would have, it's not Joe's fault. In the real world, I would have liked to see us decide on that,
Yeah.
not Joe. It's just, I mean, I like Joe, and I think he does an unbelievable job, but when I saw it, I'm on the CPC for the select board, and 165,000 for a soccer field. Not that we shouldn't put money into the soccer field, but I wanted to know more information because there's a lot of things we could do for 165,000, and the soccer field's playable. What are we doing to it? We putting lights and a roof over it, or I just wondered. It seems like a lot.
Well, I just wondered what was the proposal? I mean,
We haven't seen it yet.
what are they planning? What was the getting money to do what with the soccer field then?
That's kind
the
of a
problem, Tom, excuse me.
Yep.
I'm chair of CPC. That showed up. I had never even seen it till it arrived that day. That's part of the problem. That type of request should not have come from Joe. It should have been emanated here with at least a parameter or format of what do you want to do with that money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That type of thing. So how it got to us without us really knowing about it, I don't know. But
Well, I mean, part of the way that it got that way is that it's not that clear how these systems work and
Yeah.
how the procedure goes to get it to a place where we could ask for money for something like a soccer field. So I think that this segues into the subcommittee that is interested in supporting soccer at Olympia Meadows or supporting a multi-use field. We already have talked about parks equipment and parks maintenance. But I think Joe is asking, like, if this is important to us, what is it exactly that we'd like to see? And how do we put that proposal forward in such a way that we might be able to get some capital for it? Because the budget might not allow that.
Yeah, I think in this case, for me at least, it was not whether soccer is important or not. Clearly, it's important and we need it. But is it 165,000 important, and what is our priorities in parks? That's all,
What does that get for? you?
Yeah.
So I think when Joe made the previous proposal like 6 months ago, or examined the opening the field up so that it was an NCAA regulation field, we would have to we'd have to open up the
Walkway.
trail that goes around there. We'd have to cut back on some of the trees, and just the engineering and all that. I seem to remember.
Yeah, you're right, but when he talked about it to the CPC, and it's only stage 1, so didn't go in detail. He said if we were gonna go farther, you would have to move the trail. We're not doing that. So that, I didn't ask him because that wasn't the proper time, but what are we doing?
He said we're not doing it.
Yeah, he said
It's not being moved.
it's not, he said the trail's not being moved. So I thought like you did, Bill, okay, we're going for the whole thing, but we're not.
So,
apparently.
but the board did ask Joe if it was possible to see a staged version.
Yeah.
And different dollar amounts attached, and
Right.
that I think that there was some intention to shoot the moon with this dollar amount. And that the hope was that as he gets closer to a plan that people might be able to choose from, that there is at least a clear enough ask.
Yeah, and I think just the question, is this the best use of our money? And what are we getting for our money? I still don't know, and we'll find out when step 2 comes in, but this board will find out after the CPC finds out, which is still backwards.
Let me explain how the CPC works. Step 1 is a 1-page piece of paper. Does it meet the criterions of CPC? That's all it wants. It's not arguing the merit, the totals, anything else. There were 14 projects. All 14 met the criteria for CPC. Now what's going to happen? We have $2.4 million in requests and approximately $800,000 to give out. So you don't have to be an economist to figure out something's not going to happen. Just, that's kind of how it goes. And then we go through and we have hearings and we listen to everybody and what they're, where they get their other money, can it be phased, all that sort of stuff. That's what we do with that.
So when somebody comes to the board with a proposal, is there a chance that they could be approved for a lesser dollar amount?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we have some work to do as a committee to decide where our priorities are, where we want to put our capital budget.
Except it's a little too late. Again, I'm not blaming Joe, just for next year.
Can't do it
Because
now.
we can't now say, never mind half that soccer field, we want to use it on something
No,
else.
I understand that, but I mean, in general, in
Yeah.
terms of our work as a commission, where our priorities are, we started this conversation a couple of months ago to talk about what each of our priorities are, and maintenance and upkeep of parks equipment was one. And
Well, yeah, and that should be the first, because if we let fall apart what's there, it makes no sense. So I'm glad that he applied for that.
and another one that was put up as an important priority was a soccer situation, so.
Yeah.
When is the step 2 meeting?
December 10th.
December 10th. Okay,
So
so
should we go to that, or what is?
I would strongly suggest we will get all step 2s have to be on December 4th. I wouldn't suggest going anything until we figure out, because we don't deal all projects in one night. There are 3 nights. And we have to decide what we're gonna do on the 10th, what we're gonna do on the 12th, and what we're gonna do on the 13th, in the sense of looking and evaluating, because there are 14 of them. You can't do them all in one night. There's no way. So when
You should
we
come.
know that assignment, Alana will know. The key to CPC is if the app is done correctly, they will have answered all the skeleton questions. If you can say, one person can stand up and say, I'm here to represent 5 or 6 people of the Parks Commission, we are all in support of it, that'd be great. But I think when it comes to details, that all that stuff will be flushed out within the step 2 app. It goes on for pages.
You have a hand.
I'm sorry, I cannot see whose hand that is.
So Nan,
Amanda,
Oh, Ananda.
I just had a question. When you are discussing parks equipment, does that include the equipment components of the skate park?
So, no, it includes parks equipment that already exists that needs maintenance.
No, that's what I mean. At the skate park, there's equipment that already exists that does not have a maintenance schedule.
So then, yes,
Okay, thank you.
I think you're wrong. I think it's a separate allocation to the FY 26 budget. I don't know if the money that he's asking for would include the reparations to the skate park equipment.
but that would be up to us to decide where the parks equipment maintenance budget that we would get would go.
So he's gotta tell us though,
Yes.
us being the CPC,
What?
not
where
us
it
being the
goes.
parks, where it's,
Yeah.
what his plans are. So someone needs, I don't know that we know the answer to this. It's a question. I don't think either of you are wrong.
But
I
in
think-
theory, it could.
In theory, it could, but I don't know if it does.
And one of the issues, Ananda, is this old question that we keep coming around to, which is, like, to what degree is it our responsibility to maintain the things that already exists? I would say 100% our responsibility. And to what degree is it our responsibility to rebuild or replace things that need to be rebuilt and replaced in a bigger, broader way? Long term, that's, when you first asked the question, I thought that was the question, and the answer is that this is not for the new version of the skate park. That's-
Yeah, no, my question was narrowed to the equipment component of the skate park as it currently exists.
Like, you're talking about like the
Ramps,
skating
boxes,
ramps and boxes and stuff like that.
Cause that
Yeah.
could use, that definitely could use some help.
Yes, definitely.
It should be done in metal and not built with wood, because the plywood is just degrading itself.
Yeah, I think that, Ananda, it is really important to this board to bring all of the currently existing parks equipment, including the parks equipment at the skate park, up to a standard that make it usable and as
Safe.
safe as possible. And that is a major priority of ours.
Is this request for the skate park? Isn't going to the CPC?
No,
So what does the thing in parentheses mean, yearly contribution? Is that
Yeah.
something that we're gonna be looking at every year?
so Joe is reminding us that something like a big project like the skate park is more money than we're ever gonna have in a fiscal year. And the idea is to put away some money to be able to put towards a much bigger project.
So my question is, how do we put away money?
You don't spend
don't
it
have
and you
that.
earmark it.
Hmm?
You earmark it and you don't spend it.
But what he's asking is you have to make sure it rolls over.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah,
if, this may not be a bad idea, except for the fact that since Joe, I think, said the skate park was $3 million. That's 20 years from now, we'll all be here deciding that we're gonna build a skate park. So I think we have to have some creativity also.
Fiscally, what we're attempting to do here is to put away $150,000 every year until it reaches some predetermined level and then do something?
No, I think it's just not to be blindsided by the project when the project comes about. It's sort of like putting aside a little bit for a down payment to know that this is a big project that we're gonna take on at some point, but that we're not starting from scratch.
And there also may be things that can be done for not the total of 150, but for maybe for $60,000 or $70,000, the boxes could be rebuilt. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Who
Yeah,
knows? But I can't, Joe just sort of did this and we don't have any real details, so we have to wait for him.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it's
So
kind
I-
of tough
I'll
to even
wait
consider
until-
putting $150,000 away when your budget's $87,000 for the year.
That's- That's right. So this agenda was created when Joe was going to be here this evening to talk us through the budget. And so all I have are the notes for him that he wanted to make sure that everybody understood that what that yearly contribution means is this down payment idea for a project that could come about at some point in the future. So my strong suggestion is that we table the rest of the budget conversation until Joe is able to hear to answer questions.
Yep.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, I do think that it would be good if I could request that everyone looks over this for next meeting, so that we can have somewhat of an educated conversation with Joe about where he came to with these numbers and with the operating budget for the next fiscal year, okay? Sound good? Steve? Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Sounds like a
So in the
plan.
previous meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the skate park and that was, if I remember correctly, it wasn't, there was actual some capital projects that were gonna be tried to get done to actually change or renovate portions of the park, correct?
It was a couple of meetings ago, but
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, that was what the gist of it is. And then the other question was the budget for taking care of existing equipment. I mean, I see it as there's two different things going on here, but you know, if you put the money into taking care of equipment that's gonna remain and not be part of the renovation, I mean, you know, and I'm saying, I see two things going on here and it's not really clear where to draw the line.
what I think you're speaking to that thing that I said earlier, which is to what degree are we responsible for maintaining the current equipment to a safe and
Right.
usable standard?
Which is what I saw that in the budget being, in this agenda being that money to do that.
Yes, this budget does not take a look at the capital required to do the big state park projects.
Right.
We need to do a ton of work to make that big project happen.
So my only concern is that we don't do things twice. We don't put money on something to maintain something that in the later project, that part's gonna disappear or be altered.
Absolutely heard,
I
and also,
understand.
hold on, Amanda, please, hold on one second, please, okay? And also, in my opinion, it must remain usable safely, because we don't have a clear path forward, and until we do, we need, that is our part. Yes,
Right,
yeah. Yes, Amanda, do you wanna say more about that?
Well, I just wanted to add that it's been my understanding in conversations with the skate community that the things that need to be fixed that are not equipment are things like the curbs, the surface needs to be redone, the bowl was put in incorrectly originally.
Yep.
So those kinds of things are very different than the equipment, and the equipment maintenance. The reason I wanted to bring it up is so that you do have an awareness that the equipment that is there, my understanding for skaters is the equipment that they want to see continue to be there. And that the missing piece is ongoing maintenance of it, that the actual equipment of the park is a very desirable setup for the kind of skating that happens there.
Thank you, great, excellent. I would like to take note that that feels like a big priority for me. How do,
The curb and surface.
well, no, that also, but the maintenance of the equipment that is
The
currently.
maintenance of what's already there.
The maintenance that is what is already there. We know that infrastructure needs to be updated for safety and for the future, but in the meantime, the equipment that is already there needs to be maintained.
Well, that should be in the operating budget.
Yes,
Maintenance, a maintenance line item should be in the operating budget to maintain and safety codes and all that kind of stuff should be in the operating budget.
Unless,
That's what I would ask.
unless we need to replace it.
Well, true, but I mean, if we're talking about just yearly maintenance,
Yes.
that's an operating thing, it's not a capital.
I think
Right.
where we're headed as a commission is in it to a place that whenever a piece of equipment is put in, that there is a line item to maintain it going forward. And in the meantime, we're gonna have to be doing some backtracking or we're gonna have to spend some capital to update things that probably should have been maintained better in the past. Yes, does that sound accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just gotten beyond.
yep. It is beyond. Okay, Karen, Dutch Reach.
Okay, there are a couple of things that number one, a couple of guys who do a lot of riding from Berkshire Bike and Blade. This picture right here, what they're asking, and this has also gone to Joe, to Mark, and to Chris, is that there be a bike lane from Price Chopper to Belcher Square, because there isn't, and people are zipping and zapping. Can you see that? Okay,
That's a tough place to run. a bike.
no kidding. Terrible. Something needs to happen. I would just like the Park and Rec Commission to say, yes, we support that, and then it's gonna have to go up the food chain, because I think this is more, it's a state road.
Just stay going.
So it is my understanding that this is part of a state project to make this happen, but I don't know the timeline on it. But I think that, I think that I would love to support moving this forward as quickly as we
All
possibly
right,
can.
question, what birdie sat on your shoulder?
Joe,
Okay, a big birdie.
yeah,
Um, okay, so the next thing I would like to know is, okay, so Joe's as a birdie, where and who is going to affect that change, and what can we do to make it happen?
great, excellent. So we will pass that along to Joe, ASAP, and make sure that he has an answer for us for next meeting. But I don't think that there's any harm in, speaking our minds about this being something that the Parks Commission is in favor of. How do y'all feel about this cycling being important?
Support. So
Okay,
that connects parts of the town.
absolutely,
Absolutely. And also how we can developmentally work with Berkshire Bike Path. There is a back way to go to West Stock. There's a back way to go to West Stockbridge, but we have to get some easements, and I think that I would like to see the Parks Department push it, because it's happening in Stockbridge and Lenox and Lee, about how we get a bike path that can go all the way.
so this does beg the question, like Steve asked in the beginning, about like, what does this have to do with the Parks Commission? And this feels to me like recreation. We are the Parks and Recreation Commission, and so I don't know if there is a procedural way to be in support of this kind of like extending the bike paths between towns. Like, as a commission, shall we write a letter? Shall we go
Yeah.
before the select board? Like, what do y'all
I
think?
would start with a letter and then find out when it's on the agenda, and then we can storm the Bastille.
Karen, would you be willing to write a letter and have us
No.
all sign? You should know.
No.
Okay,
What I may do is go back to my friend, Mr. Pearson, who wrote this, and have him construct it.
that sounds great.
I'll make sure that that happens.
Excellent. Fabulous. You want to say anything more about that? Anybody else?
Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and I think it's something I would like this commission to deal with, and I also like to have some posters put up. This is what they call the Dutch Reach. If you are in a car on Main Street and you go to open your car door, I've gotten doored at least 4 times. What it does is it asks you, if you're driving to get out of the driver's side of the car, that you reach over with your right hand to open the door. And at the moment, you get to look in your rearview mirror so you can see somebody coming down the bike lane. Yeah, you guys understand what I'm talking about? Okay. I would like us to start to throw some teasers out to hear about the Dutch Reach, and just start to get people to talk about it, because I do it all the time. I have a thing in my car that says Dutch Reach. So when I park on Main Street, because I've doored somebody, meaning I've opened my door and the bike balloon, and it's so tight downtown now that I think it's something that we could foster and we could bring up. And as soon as the new bike racks are here, which we've already gotten and stuff like that, the more bike friendly we are in Great Barrington, the better off things are going to be, because you have less cars. That's all this is.
Great.
That's my suggestion.
Anybody have questions? Cool. Excellent. Moving right along, Ananda, you are here to speak to us about Railroad Street, if you would, please.
Yes,
Where are we on the agenda?
We are, I'm so sorry, we are in updates A.
Ananda. Okay.
Amanda, thank you. Thanks.
And I believe that my being here tonight was meant to complement Joe's request in the agenda. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you all. I think, I've spoken to you earlier in the year about that this summer, with the late start, was unusual, and it was harder for us to do what we normally do in the skate park. But I want to engage you all in this stage of the budget process, and be an advocate with you for funding for the skate park in the coming budget year with the town. And I believe Joe is talking about going back to previous levels of funding prior to this fiscal year. And what that allows us to do is so the skate park is one of the most used parks, and it's incredibly intergenerational. So we see everybody from pretty small littles with scooters to folks at least my age and older, out there doing various things on wheels and using the basketball court. And it also happens to be a place that one of the few places in town that teens really know they belong, including some of the teens that are maybe the least engaged in other spaces, including schools. And what happens when we have that space staffed as a community is we're able to help people connect intergenerationally and keep people safe, both physically safe, and help facilitate that that's a welcoming space. And when we can't be out there with staff, the vibe changes, and it's not always a welcoming space to everybody. It's also, by being present there, we're able to really maintain that as a substance-free space in a way that doesn't happen when we, as a community, don't have that space staffed and interactions happening. And then also when we're been fully staffed in the past, then we have the young skate park attendants work on programming in addition to being there. So they do things like teach skating lessons or plan events with some of the young folks who are there. And in general, make that space vibrant, in a space that invites people in across generations. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that larger perspective, that it is more than babysitting that happens when you all are able to invest in having that space staffed.
Thank you. Great. And it's true that we didn't get a full update from Joe about the budget, and so we'll get that next month. But does anybody on the commission have any questions for Amanda or want to hear anything more from her to put this staffing of the park of the skate park in perspective?
What kind of programming was done down there this past summer?
This past summer, we weren't even able to start hiring till mid-July. So our focus was on getting as many shifts staffed, and we didn't focus on having those young people run specific programs. We really wanted to have we wanted as many shifts staffed as we could, and we wanted them interacting with young people. So we didn't have structured programs this summer because of how late it started.
So this coming year,
Yeah.
that problem would not arise?
The source of that problem was that the town did not put through the contract with us until the second week of July. In the past, we've had the contract the first week of May. And so I've worked with Joe to, because we weren't able to staff every shift because of the lateness in the hiring process and people already having jobs. We were able to put aside some money from last summer's contract that we'll save so that we can start in June when school gets out, which is what we've done in the past.
Okay, I understand, the problem that you had this year. But my question, my more important question would be, what kind of programming has proven to be successful that might require funds?
So when there's there's two answers. So the funding that you provide goes directly to the skate park attendants and to Devin Wagner's position to coordinate those skate park attendants. So he runs the hiring, he does skate park shifts himself. He makes sure that all skate park attendants are trained with CPR. We do additional training around bullying and sexual harassment. So there's a baseline that we're maintaining that's about having staff there to keep the park safe and engage young people. And in that capacity, there's a lot of impromptu teaching that happens, intervening in conflicts before they become escalated, reminding people about smoking rules, dog rules, maintaining the space of the park. So that's the baseline. Then on top of that, we ask those young, we ask.
Hold on a second. That was the first part, was training of the staff, right? And then the second part, Ananda, please.
Yep. So the second part is then we ask those skate park attendants over the course of the summer when they're working there to create programs for park users. And those in the past have included, they've included doing skate lessons. They've included collaborating with our youth operational board to create events. I think the summer before last, there was a tie-dye day, for example. So when there's a need, this is something we're able to do at Railroad Street. So if there's a program idea where there's a need for program material costs, that goes to our youth operational board and is funded through our youth operational board. So the only thing we ask for from you all is the funding for the attendants at the park who will do the work and create the programs. We've had our mentoring programs use that space to continue meeting over the summer and have an activity to engage in. It varies from year to year because we're trying to work with the interests of young people.
Thank you. Bill, did you have a question?
No, it was basically answered, and I think that whole process of letting the attendants develop their own ideas about what's needed, I think that's a great model, and I think that's something we definitely want to support. Because I know in the past there were skate lessons that that were overwhelmingly taking part in, and wasn't there a skate competition down there too, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a group of skaters that have done a memorial skate event annually for at least as long as I've been at Railroad Street Youth Project. And so we step in with any amount of support that they need in organizing that. But it commemorates one of the young people that was around when the skate park was built.
So we just have to fund this, make sure the funding is there in May.
Yes, and that is part of the budget proposal that Joe has on here, that he will bring us more details of next month.
Great.
But I did ask him to be here to give us a little bit of background, because I think it's been a long time since we sort of got that touch point. So thank you.
Thank you,
so much,
Ananda.
Thanks so much for being here.
Somebody
Happy to be
just,
here.
is there any way when we do the Stanley Park, I know it's off topic, is there any way that a boat ramp could be put there?
I don't know, but we can.
I would love to get that question answered.
Okay.
Because we've got monies from that lady, his granddaughter or niece or something. It'd be great to put a boat ramp right at that spot.
We will add that to the
Thanks.
plan. Okay, so again, the next update is way from Joe. So most of this, I'm gonna just share with y'all, and then we'll get more details next month. Joe did offer some details of the parks revolving fund usage in our parks packet. I'm gonna ask everybody to read it for next meeting. It's got some details in there about what it is that we're allowed to use the park usage fees for. And I do think that it would be great for us to get a handle on it so that we can actually plan on those fees being a part of the parks approval process. Sound good? Okay. The CPA we've already discussed. We'll hear more by the next time. Joe did add 2 benches to the entrance to the
Who's he
Dome.
done? Yep.
And we already talked about Olympia Meadows and limiting vehicle access. So moving right along, Parks policies and procedures, we will table until next month. The honoring committee, I think we covered it last.
We're not
last
doing
month, but-
anything until I get some idea of what the cost of the plaque is
Great,
and whatever. I'm just waiting for that. It's not gonna, we'll straighten it out before spring.
great. And I must have fallen off the agenda, but just to confirm that the soccer, subcommittee, do you guys have a meeting time?
We are meeting Thursday, December sixth.
At 4 o'clock?
Sorry. It's either the sixth or
At Thursday.
It's the 5th.
fifth, December fifth,
Yeah,
at 4 p.m. here.
Okay, and you'll take care of getting an agenda posted and.
yeah, I had given it to,
Natalie,
and then I had postponed because both Tom and I were gonna be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. That sounds good. So anybody else who's interested in attending that meeting, that's when it'll be, and it'll be here unless we hear otherwise. Okay.
Any parks policy meetings coming up? or-
As soon as I can get a spot on my calendar. Yes, definitely.
I haven't missed one.
You have not
Oh,
missed one.
okay.
Thank you. Yes, I'm gonna make it a priority to make sure you're there.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
No, looking back, we talked about, was it limiting the vehicle access at Olympia Meadows?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the main gate.
No, it's literally the field.
Yeah, right, which Joe had talked about that earlier.
Yes,
About having to come to that,
yes, it has been done.
yeah.
Great. Silvana, do you have anything to say this month?
No, thank you. It's not changed when you do that. All of them, you're behaving you.
Thank you so much.
You are.
Thank you so much. Are there citizens here who would like to speak? It looks like, yes, James would like to speak.
James Garzone, 84 North Plain Road. I just want to bring up the breaking news that Bard College is selling its property. I hope that the Parks Commission and the town government will engage with the sellers. Hopefully, they could donate some of the property to the Parks Commission, some to the town. There's Kirkpatrick Athletic Center that is widely used by the community. That's a huge loss. It's a big piece of property, so obviously it's a concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Any other citizens who want to speak? Okay, commissioners, Bill?
No, everything seems to be going great.
Great. Tom,
No.
David? Paul? Okay,
I just want to thank Joe's group again. When I first heard about the damage at the field, I took a ride down that next day and it was already repaired.
already done.
You know, it was like, wow. So,
yes, excellent.
repaired and seated,
Thank you. Thanks, Joe, if you listen to this.
and this group.
No, thank you.
Nothing, Karen? Okay, motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Second.
Thank you guys so much for being here.